The elevator doors were stuck halfway open, flickering lights making the lobby feel like something out of a suspense movie. The morning rush at the prestigious Magnolia Corporate Tower was chaotic, executives checking their watches, assistants making calls, and an irritated receptionist trying to calm everyone down. Then, through the noise and frustration, a man in a faded blue jumpsuit and a small toolbox stepped forward. His name was Ethan Cole, a single dad just trying to make ends meet. No one paid much attention to him, until he opened his mouth and spoke flawless Italian to a group of visiting CEO clients. The room went silent. Every head turned. Even the executives who had brushed past him moments ago froze mid-step. They couldn't believe that the man kneeling by the elevator panel, with grease on his hands and a patch that read, "Cole Repairs," had just disarmed a room full of millionaires with a language most of them barely understood. But what no one knew was that Ethan wasn't always just a repairman. Ethan had once dreamed big. He'd studied international relations in college, fluent in 3 languages, planning to travel the world as a diplomat. But life had other plans. His wife, Clara, passed away suddenly when their daughter Lily was only 4, leaving him shattered and broke. He gave up his career and took whatever job he could to keep food on the table and his daughter smiling. The uniform didn't define him. It only hid the man he used to be. This morning, he was late. Lily had begged him not to go before she finished her breakfast, and he couldn't say no. By the time he reached the building, complaints about the elevator had piled up. The management didn't care who fixed it, as long as it was working before the Italian CO clients from Rome arrived to sign a massive partnership deal. Ethan got to work quietly, tuning out the noise. He noticed the visiting CEOs talking impatiently among themselves, their interpreter struggling to keep up. One of them, Mr. Bellini, muttered something frustrated in Italian about incompetent staff and third-rate maintenance. Ethan caught every word but said nothing. Years of being underestimated had taught him when to stay silent. Until the interpreter made a mistake. Bellini asked something about the elevator's safety, but the interpreter translated it wrong, making the situation sound worse. Ethan, without even realizing it, turned and said fluently, "Mi scusi, signor, ascensor è perfettamente sicuro. Solo un circuito difettoso. Niente di serio." The words rolled off his tongue smoothly. Every eye turned to him. Bellini blinked. "Lei parla italiano?" Ethan smiled softly, a little embarrassed. Signor. Lo parlavo molto tempo fa." The lobby went dead silent. Even the building manager, who usually ignored him, looked stunned. Then Bellini's expression softened. "Molto interessante, un uomo ci lavora con le mani, ma pensa con la mente." The executives didn't understand what Bellini said, but they could feel the shift. Respect filled the air. The CEO walked up to Ethan and offered a handshake, a gesture no one in the room expected. For the first time in years, Ethan felt seen. Later that day, after fixing the elevator, he was about to leave when the building's senior manager stopped him. "Mr. Cole, the clients were very impressed with you. They want you to assist with their language coordination for the rest of the week." Ethan froze. "Me? But I'm just the repair guy." "Not today. You're not." He went home that evening to find Lily coloring at the kitchen table. "Hey, superstar," he said, setting down his toolbox. She looked up and smiled, missing her front tooth. "Did you fix the elevator, Daddy?" "Yeah," he said, smiling. "And maybe fixed something else, too." She giggled, but Ethan's eyes shimmered with something deeper. Hope. Maybe this was the beginning of something new. The following morning, Ethan wore the same uniform, but he felt different. His shoulders were straighter, his steps lighter. When he arrived at the tower, the receptionist greeted him differently this time, with a smile instead of a sigh. People whispered his name as he walked past, half curious, half respectful. Bellini and his team were waiting in the conference room. The interpreter had been quietly dismissed, and Ethan was invited to sit beside the CEOs. He translated their discussions with ease, occasionally offering insights that surprised even the executives of the building's host company. The more he spoke, the more everyone realized he wasn't just a translator. He was a man with intelligence, depth, and empathy. He understood not only the language, but the people. But success never comes without challenge. That evening, the building manager pulled him aside. "Look, Ethan, I know they like you, but this isn't your role. You're on a maintenance contract. You can't just waltz into meetings with CEOs." Ethan's heart sank. He didn't argue. He needed this job. But when he told Bellini the next day that he wouldn't be joining them anymore, the CEO frowned. "Who said that?" Ethan hesitated. "My manager. He's just following rules." Bellini stood up. "Rules can be changed." By afternoon, Ethan's phone rang. It was the building's HR department. "Mr. Cole, we've been instructed to transfer you to the International Relations Division. Effective immediately." He couldn't believe it. After years of being ignored, someone had finally looked past the uniform. That evening, he picked Lily up from school and told her everything. She squealed and hugged him tightly. "So now you're not just fixing elevators, Daddy. You're fixing people's problems." He laughed, tears in his eyes. Something like that. That night, after tucking Lily in, he stood by the window of their small apartment. The city lights reflected on the glass, and for the first time in years, he saw himself not as a man who'd lost everything, but as a man who'd rebuilt from nothing. He whispered softly, "Clara, I hope you're watching. I finally gave our girl a future to be proud of." Somewhere deep inside, he felt peace, because sometimes life brings you back to the surface not through luck, but through a single moment where you dare to speak your truth, even when no one expects it. And that moment, in a crowded lobby filled with strangers, had changed Ethan Cole's life forever.